We're still undefeated. The feel-good factor's still here, but we've still got plenty to moan about. This is Blue Monday. Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast, covering all things Ipswich Town since 2015. I'm Mikey Smith, and joining me for this, the flagship show, are two Heath legends. It's Joe Fairs and Lord David Diamond. We're far from boring these days, aren't we?
We really are. I think we should say what we were talking about pre-pod, which is Joe's obviously your shirt to begin with. I mean, magnificent, but Joe's shirt, which immediately I sprung to mind. I don't know, for a reason, it was Klaus Thompson. We had a pretty decent discussion about him, which was quite good to kick things off tonight.
Yeah, reminiscing about his goal against Newcastle at St James's Park, where to get us a point, one of only about 20 points we got that season.
Was that the game where if there was a possession, if there was anything statistically called a possession-wise, it'd have been something like 95-5 or something, wasn't it? Apparently,
yeah. I think they scored in like the 90th minute, didn't they, to win 1-0, and then we scored straight after in the 94th.
Yeah.
Excellent. So these classic Ipswich Town shirts are available on eBay or via Joe Fairs.
What about these classic Blue Monday shirts?
To get one of these Blue Monday shirts, there's all sorts. There's T-shirts, there's hoodies, there's mugs, there's dog bandanas, Dave. This is the long sleeve baseball style T-shirt. If you just visit the Blue Monday website, bluemondayitfc.co.uk, and then click on the merchandise part, then you can get involved. So, Dave, it was good to join you and a few others from the Telegram group in the Greyhound yesterday. Although you dropped me like a stone as soon as Russell Osman arrived, I noticed.
Untrue. I was herded up that end of the pub by our good pal and colleague Rich to do the honours with Russell Osman, who's now Prematch ritual was the announcement of the team. So good fun, good laugh. I didn't realise I met his sister yesterday. His sister actually works at the Greyhound. So
yeah, I didn't realise that. Yeah.
Hence the Osman connection there. But yeah, good fun. And as you quite rightly said, it was absolutely rammed, wasn't it?
It was rammed. Yeah, right from the word go. I got there probably about 1:45.
Yeah,
and yeah, it was standing room only. It was fantastic. But yeah, Dave has become quite the celebrity in Ipswich over the last few years, Joe, because of partly because of this very podcast.
I think so.
What did he know that we now have had 1 million podcast downloads since the second season of the pod, Joe?
I did know that because Rich told me the other day, but I think it went on to Acast sort of midway through the second season, didn't it? And since the point it went across there, we've now passed 1 million downloads, which is quite a lot for just a few of us talking about a provincial football club.
Just amazing, and yeah, I forgot it went season 2. Season 1, myself and Bennett was like the old BBC Match of the Day, was sort of questions and answers on a postcard, like London W12 8QT. But no, it's absolutely superb, isn't it?
Yeah. And we have to give a massive thank you to everyone that's been listening from the start or is listening now for the first time. This is obviously a live show, so I think we've already got about 50 people watching along live. So if I'll dip into the comments now, we'll come back later for the questions. I know there's at least one first time viewer because I've seen a comment from a Barnsley fan saying he can't wait to hear how marvellous we were and how Barnsley parked the bus. I don't think we're going to say that Barnsley parked the bus, but
No.
I don't think that we were particularly marvellous, but I don't think the referee helped us as he suggested. Lee says evening. It's the usual suspects, really, isn't it? He said Mikey needs to start doing his hair earlier. Thank you very much. I was bang on time, early as usual. Charlie D is here as well. I'm not gonna put all of his comments in.
Honestly, Mikey, you're late once, and look what happens.
And he wasn't even late, was he? The poor guy.
No, sorry, no, take it back. He wasn't even late. You were technically affected, weren't you?
Dan Connors is here. Tony Rand, Gary Haseman, sat here with a bottle of red, still sulking about yesterday. So hopefully we'll be able to cheer you up. Veronica Dodd, she's a member of our Telegram group, isn't she? She says still unhappy about yesterday. It was a strange one, really, wasn't it? Walking away from that one because while it wasn't our best performance, it did feel like it was 2 points dropped overall, didn't it?
Definitely. I think just the way the game finished, wasn't it? From the sort of about getting into the game, from the point we went 2-1 up to the game ending, it was just one-way traffic, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Dave, before we get into talking about yesterday's match, Ipswich women were in action today.
Oh no, don't.
And
I think it might be down to me. So
yeah,
I
I'm
didn't get there.
hearing that the Ipswich lost again, and
Yeah,
it's all your fault.
I got there at half time. Seriously, usual me. Got there late. Things to do. Got there late. Saw Rich walk around the pit near the dugout. Saw Rich and Matt and the Matt Macon and Chrissy Day was there. Fairly usual suspects. And how's it going, lads? Absolutely dominating. 1-0 up. Should be 2 or 3-0 up. Oh, this game will end up 4 or 5 sort of thing. Absolutely. Gillingham second half played us off the park. Absolutely played. Really deservedly won the game second half. Obviously, tactically, I think, according to Rich, made perhaps 1 or 2 changes at half time. And got a penalty. And then can I remember? Oh no, sorry, it's got a good goal, breakaway goal. The girl forward tucked it away really well in the corner, and then got a penalty. A bit of a harsh one. Pitch was lovely at Felixstowe. Green, lovely, lush. Bit uneven in places, and our one of our sponsors, I think Abby Lafayette, got caught in a corner. Ball bounced, unintentional. Ball strikes arm, corner of the penalty box. Immediate penalty. Good penalty, put it away, and yeah, we didn't really 1 or 2 goal mouth scrambles, but other than that, no. I think it showed. I think there was only 4 subs today as well. So I think the squad on paper as compared to last season just looks a little bit thin. But as we know, they've got 4 or 5 injuries to regular squad or even starters. So yeah, hopefully better things to come. But bit disappointed. But another good turnout there again. But sorry guys, I think completely my fault.
Yeah, well, they've always had a young team, haven't they? But they brought in a little bit of experience last year to supplement it, like with Bonnie Horwood, Sarah Quantrill, and is it Liv Smith, the centre half as well? And it feels like they've lost another couple of players, and maybe there's not quite the girls ready to step up from the youth team yet, and they probably just need to get another couple of senior bodies in there. It seems, doesn't it?
Yeah, and look, you can't. Paige Peak, obviously we know moved to Southampton, a step up Championship. I mean, she was such a key player, an absolute rock at the back that she was always going to be, a big miss. But as Joe quite rightly said, quite a young squad. But yeah, hopefully 1 or 2 senior players will get back sooner rather than later, and they'll be able to push on.
Absolutely. Still a long way to go, isn't there? A long way to go. So let's get into Saturday's game. And there was 25,000 fans in attendance once again as we hosted Barnsley. They had an indifferent start to the season. Russell Osman, as you mentioned, broke the team news in the Greyhound. And there were a couple of surprises in there, weren't there, Dave?
Yeah, there were really, and I think perhaps the biggest. We were all throughout the week. The thread on the Telegram and I know the preview show, and also perhaps the live show we did on Wednesday was who plays up front after John Jules' brilliant goal and great performance the previous week at Shrewsbury. Ladabo hasn't scored yet. Who's going to start? Will Ladabo come back in? Horses for courses, perhaps for that sort of match, sort of thing. And both on the team sheet, which I think was the biggest surprise.
It did feel a little bit like McKenna was almost had his hand forced by John Jules' performance, that he had to stay in the team and then ended up jigging it about. And it didn't quite work, did it? How he jiggled it about with Ladapo and John Jules both playing. Like John Jules started out wide, ended up playing more as a 10 afterwards, but just didn't quite get in the game, did he? Like he did last week.
I felt for John Jules, Jay. He just didn't have any effect on the game at all, did he?
No, and
not necessarily his fault, as you quite rightly said.
He obviously likes what Ladapo gives him leading the line, doesn't he? And wanted to get him in the team and keep John Jules in. But yeah, it felt a little bit forced, a little bit unlike McKenna. He's normally, you can sort of see the reasoning behind all the decisions. Where this one, I didn't quite see it there.
And probably a little bit harsh on Harness.
Yeah. But then everyone else has had Chaplin's missed a game, hasn't he? Ladapo's missed a game. Yep. So it's almost like that's his turn to sit one out almost.
Yeah.
And Edmondson was recalled, which sort of suggests that he wasn't dropped the other night. It just was a precaution because of the ankle, Joe.
Well, he didn't have a full pre-season, did he? So,
No.
and he does look like at times he struggled. So it's probably best when you got a player of sort of Burgess's quality in reserve, just to give Edmondson a break when you can, and rather than push that injury or push that recovery any further than it needs to go, you sort of give him the break and hope it works out, which it did last week. But I think George Edmondson's one of those players that's the sort of first name on the team sheet. I think there's 4 or 5 players that I'd say are championship quality in the team, and he's one of them for me.
Absolutely. And speaking of championship, there's obviously a few Barnsley players that were there last season in the championship. What formation do you think that they were playing, Joe? Did you see it as it is in front of us here?
I thought it was more 4 at the back because Williams and Styles are basically playing as fullbacks, but then Styles is pushing on a bit more. It's a little bit similar to how we played with sort of Danasian as a right, like a hybrid right back, right centre back, wasn't it? So it's sort of similar to us in that regard. But I'd say we didn't really have many sort of problems with them on the ball going forwards, did we?
No.
Really good to see Luke Thomas again, Dave. Loads of memories from him.
He's sort of fairly well documented. He's had his sort of issues, hasn't he? So sort of health issues, really. So no, really, really good. And yeah, I thought he did okay. Yeah, technically good player, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was quite a quiet start, really, wasn't it? I think that there was one sort of half chance early on where John Jules and Ladapo actually linked up quite well, and Ladapo sort of flew in on the goalkeeper. But neither of them were involved in our first goal of the game, which came on 27 minutes, Joe, after a driving run from Wes Burns. I don't think we'd seen him on the ball until that 26th minute. And then that fantastic turn of pace of his driving run and a free kick in a dangerous position.
Yeah, and he cut quite a frustrated figure at times today, Burns, wasn't he? He was sort of playing on that right wing, kept trying to sort of make these little runs in behind and sort of going, and the players weren't playing the balls over the top, and it just seemed quite frequent that he was doing that and sort of not getting the ball. But this time he went back, picked up the ball away, and then just drove forward and really drove right at the heart of the defence, right to the edge of the box, and just outside the sort of the circle on the edge of the box, just got brought down, and sort of really nice position. I sort of said, "Oh, we need a left footer on this." It looked perfect for a left footer on that side, didn't it? And
yeah, well, so Burns fancied it, didn't he?
Burns fancied it. Lee Evans was straight over to get the ball and fancied it, but in the end, it's Connor Chaplin. And I say I'm right behind that goal, and you sort of see it taken, and the keeper makes that mistake of just taking that little half step to the left to sort of try and cover behind the wall, and the ball flashes past him and into the top corner, and we're off 1-0. And not just that, Connor Chaplin's off celebrating wildly against his former club. There's no sort of muted celebration. And I say he made some comments today in the press about how there was just no loyalty shown towards the players at Barnsley and those bits like that. So no, it's interesting, really good goal. Nice to score from a set piece as well.
Yeah, it was a lovely free kick, wasn't it? Wasn't it, Dave? Sort of reminded me of Jamie Clapham from a few years ago.
Oh, here you go. Yeah, no, it was superbly struck. And I think Joe said immediately, or Joe had a great view of it, but we saw that as soon as that keeper, he almost takes a death step, doesn't he? He takes that step, so he shifts his weight to the left, and it's even if he hadn't, I still don't think it'd have probably saved it. It wasn't right in the postage stamp, as they say, but it was superbly struck, wasn't it? Brilliant technique. And as you said, yeah, he did enjoy that, didn't he?
He did indeed. So this is going to be the first mention of the referee, Steve Martin, wasn't it? Is it Steve Martin?
Yes. Yeah.
Not as funny as his namesake.
6 minutes later, the ball hits Evans' arm about 25 yards out from our goal. It seemed like it was in a natural position, but the referee's given a free kick on the edge of our area.
You know, I think that filters through everything. I know Rich, if you saw Matt Macon, who did the match report for the ladies today, I mean, so many handballs on a sort of uneven pitch. It's anyway, it's another story. But yes, on a similar vein, yeah, he was the ball sort of bounced and broke for him, didn't it? But sort of seemingly like spun up as he was looking to come away and get control of the ball. Usual thing, seen them given, seen them not, but had, more often than not this season, seen those given. It does strike his arm or whatever part. And initially you think, oh, hang on, this is exactly the same position as our free kick, but for a right footer. It's Connell maybe take. I'm not sure who takes it. No, it can't be Connell, I don't think.
Benson
but yeah. Defend it well, doesn't get it up and over. Defend it well, but we just don't defend the second ball, do we? And the ball's recycled, perhaps a little bit, and I suppose a bit fractured because I don't know what our wall was, 4 or 5 or 6 maybe in that wall. A little bit caught out of position, ball's recycled, left-footed ball in, and it just falls in a good area, doesn't it? For I think it's Aitchison, isn't it, who gets between Danassian and Burns, I think.
It was a beautiful ball in.
Yeah, it's a good area, wasn't it? Yeah,
wasn't loads of pace, but just really good
just in a really good area. It took everybody out, and he's just got a sort of free, stoopy little header, and it needs to be good to anything these days. Needs to be good to beat Walton, and it was just right in the corner, wasn't it?
It was indeed. I'll just dip back into the comments, and because he's going to probably cop a little bit of stick tonight, Freddie Ladapo. Chris Rand says, worth mentioning for our goal, Ladapo's casual walk behind the wall, unsighting the keeper. It's just clever stuff, isn't it? And you don't talk about it at all if the free kick hits the wall or whatever. But it just shows that there's a plan and there's thinking going on there. Just little
it's
minor
something that you wouldn't
like
even
that.
notice, even if you're watching the highlights back. It's only because some people filmed it from behind the goal that you actually see that view.
Absolute legends filmed it from behind the goal, Joe.
But there's a couple of other ones on the internet from people at the bottom of the stand. You wouldn't have noticed it unless you've got that angle literally behind the goal, because even on the full highlights you don't see what's going on there. But you see how sort of big a bloke he is, and where he walks there, it does just fill that gap between the wall and the sort of the charger down next to them, who's sort of a yard away, wasn't it?
Absolutely. So at 1-1, Lee Evans plays a couple of, I think there was 3 in the space of about 2 minutes. Lovely diagonal ball straight onto the left foot of Leif Davis, who's got a fantastic first touch on the move, hasn't he? One of them leads to a decent shot, which the keeper saved. We went in at 1-1. I think somebody in the comments mentioned potential for a penalty in the first half.
Joe, I was going to say, did you
get that looked good view of that? I obviously saw it once. I didn't see it again, but it looked a clear foul on Davis. The guy just goes to ground when he's sort of dribbling the ball on the touchline. But I can't say for sure it was inside or outside of the area. But it was a foul, no doubt. He just slid through. But when you look at the ref's positioning, it's hard for him to see it. And the lino is the other side of the pitch, and the other one's on the halfway line. So you can sort of forgive the officials on that one, because there's not really any way they could see it. But it's one of those ones that I think if there was VAR or the equivalent, they'd be having a look at it, because it was just a chop, just a sliding chop on him, and he went down, and it seemed to hurt him as well, because he was struggling from that point onwards, really, as well.
I think ultimately that's what perhaps made forced the change, don't you?
It did.
I think he did go down, didn't he? He did go down before the change.
He did seem hurt.
Yeah, he did, I think.
Right, before we wrap up the first half, Romeo's said it's worth remembering the moving tribute in the 10th minute, well observed by both sets of fans, players and officials. Yeah, you saw players applauding, Barnsley fans, the whole stadium stood up. It was incredibly moving. It was really sad. And as Romeo says, R.I.P. Lilian.
Yeah, here.
Moving into the second half, it's Barnsley who looked the more likely at the start. I thought Barnsley, actually, probably their best period of the game was at 1-1, but before we scored. I thought they were the better side. Christian Walton had to make a decent save. They hit the side netting as well, where the Barnsley fans thought that they'd scored. At this stage, were you almost thinking, Joe, this might just be one of those days where I'll probably take a point, or maybe just look to nick it right at the end?
Yeah, well, in the first half, we'd had all the ball and we'd looked the better side, but we hadn't really managed to achieve much with it, because they'd been really well drilled in their formation, and we just kept sort of passing the ball around, and we just got squeezed and just kept trying to have to hit these little clipped balls over the top, which just didn't work. And that was a result of their sort of discipline and shape and press on that side. But it seemed in the second half, they sort of grew in confidence from that, going in at 1-1, and really sort of pushed their sort of team higher up the pitch. And when they were nicking the ball back, it was sort of in our half rather than in their half, and I say it led to that opportunity where sort of Walter makes a save. But yeah, there's the second one, he's in and he just tries to lift it over him with toe poking, but he just doesn't quite wrap his foot around it. But that was a real big chance in the game. And then I said we seemed a little bit flat around that point. Their good spell sort of seemed to fade away, and then when we made the changes, it seemed to perk us up again and give us a sort of another lift.
Yeah, so those changes came on 67 minutes. Vincent Young came on for Davis. As you mentioned, he was limping after that that tackle in the first half. Harness comes on for John Jules, and Jackson, quite interestingly, came on for Ladapo and moved straight into that centre forward position. And for once, he stayed there as well, which was quite good to see. 3 minutes after that triple sub, Dave, we retake the lead.
It's such a good goal. I say good goal, such a simple goal, really. I mean, I think I said on the Telegram group after that the ping pass from Walton was just ridiculous. Or was it maybe slightly over here? I don't know, but finds Danassian. So he pings a ball, what, 40, 50 yards probably from his box to just on halfway. Danassian sort of gets up well, keeps it in, nods it inside to Chaplin, who takes it on a couple of paces and slips in Burns. And Burns is good here for once, because sometimes I think I have been critical sometimes of Burns' final ball, where he perhaps is a bit rushed and a bit panics over his final ball, but they're not always, you think for all his great play, perhaps his final decision making isn't brilliant, but this is really good. He takes a ball. Danassian, again, energy, makes a brilliant run outside, in superb run. But it's intelligent. Again, he sort of just lays the ball sort of square into a really good area. And Morsey, penalty spot, really calm finish. It lets the ball almost run across him. Not the easiest of finishes, similar to the one he missed against Bolton, last kick of the game, first game of the season. But this time lets it run across him and just sort of glides it in, doesn't he? Side foots it in the far left corner. Yeah, really good, simple goal, but yeah, super.
It was a really good finish, wasn't it, Joe? Dave's just explained it perfectly, but just the way that he's running at pace, and unlike the one against Bolton, he just took it in his stride.
Yeah.
And just guided it, didn't he?
Yeah, he sort of checks his run, doesn't he, to let the ball run across him so that he can then just take it. And it's often his weaker foot, isn't it? But he just uses the pace of the ball just to guide it into the corner, doesn't he? Yeah, excellent finish. But I say it was that header from Danassian when the ball goes across, the sort of the fullback commits, doesn't he? And it just goes over his head. And when Danassian wins it, not only does he win it, as soon as he lands, he's straight on the go. And we're 3 against 1 at that point there. And these are the things you've got to make something happen with. And similar, very similar to that Morsey chance at the end of the Bolton game. That was sort of 3 against 1 on that side.
Yeah.
Burns making the run. Burns finding
the same
Morsey.
3 players, wasn't it?
And then Morsey not providing a finish that time. But no, really, really good finish. Another good goal, sort of really striking when the sort of opposition have sort of overcommitted.
Indeed. And a few minutes later, that hotly contested moment, we score what looks like a perfectly legitimate goal just a few minutes later. This time it was Walton going route 1, and Caden Jackson got up superbly well, winning the header against the centre-back. I don't know whether it was just that he used his pace and just got there before the centre-back and flicked it on. Harness has had to work hard to get in behind the centre-back there, hasn't he? But he's managed it, and then slides and hooks the ball into the corner, and he runs off, knee slide in front of the Sir Bobby Robson stand. That's the celebration of a player that's not worried about the goal being disallowed. He's seen the linesman. The linesman hasn't given it, but what's gone on behind him?
It's an odd one. As you say, Jackson wins it brilliantly. Really times his jump well. I've watched it back 2 or 3 times, and do we know why it was disallowed as a ref? I mean, they don't have to say.
Foul.
I mean,
he's given a foul.
He has given a foul.
That must be the only thing, because he doesn't touch the ball.
Is there a suspicion of handball? Is it sort of, if you look at when he sort of gets it under control, it sort of bounces up and he almost like that? I don't know, but look, for me, there's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong. Yeah, exactly. Paul's right. Nothing wrong with
says, 0
in the
complaints
comments.
from their defenders either.
And it's really great finish, isn't it? He slides finish, buries it in the corner. And look, at 3-1 at that point, the game's over, isn't it? We go and we probably control and see the game out quite comfortably. But yeah, I mean, you could see the relief, after their defenders realised the goal was disallowed, they're sort of high-fiving each other and stuff like that. It's a very, very harsh one. Very harsh one.
Like the only potential foul in there, to me, it looks like the first offender on Harness.
Oh yeah, other way.
There's a high boot in there, and he sort of catches him in the chest with it, and I say Harness sort of rides that challenge and goes from there. So if it's been pulled back for anything, if the ref thinks Harness has fouled him, well, you should be going back to giving us a free kick that happened 1 second before. So there's obviously no advantage from there. It was just it was just crazy. It was the ref yesterday. I thought was really. I know we're going to get onto it, but I thought he was really, really poor all game, and just wanted to make himself the centre of attention in the game rather than just in the background. He just seemed to be one of those refs that just wanted everything to be about him as opposed to actually the game. Just getting involved in things where he didn't need to, and
just little things, Joe, like just making the players wait before and running over to the goalkeeper to give him the ball rather than just throwing it to him. It was like he just wanted to constantly be
making
the
both
person everyone's
sides
looking
take
at.
throw-ins like 2 yards back from where they're trying to take them and things like that. Because there wasn't really much on both sides with the fullbacks having the ball. They weren't really pushing miles down the line to take stuff. They were just nudging like every team does, and it was just. I know he just was like I said, I thought he was poor right from the start. Even in the first half, the physio had been on 3 times. There'd been 2 substitutions, there'd been 2 goals, and then there's 3 minutes injury time. It's like, well, the first time the physio was on was for about 3 minutes because I went to the toilet, came back, and the game hadn't started again like that. And I'm not Usain Bolt flying out there.
And there was a couple of times as well where the Barnsley players time wasted, which goes on, and he gave them a talking to more than once rather than giving the booking, and then it stops happening. He just I don't really like to criticise refs because I think it will just the luck just sort of evens itself out. But it's just really frustrating, isn't it? When these things go against you.
It was really good from Harness. He really wanted it. Harness wanted it more than the defenders. And he got there. So great strength to get there. Really good composed finish, and it's a tough one to have that one chalked off. But 2-1, you think okay, still 2-1. Let's see the game out. But
well, like I said, and the problem you get is as well is like last week we had the same against Shrewsbury where the foul on Vincent Young was the most blatant penalty and red card you'll see. We didn't get that decision, but we win 3-0, so it doesn't matter. Well, this time you get a really poor decision, and instead of going 3-1 up with 15 minutes left, that's cost us 2 points. That decision has.
Yeah.
So just dipping into the comments, Alex Corbett says he saw the ref doing a shirt pulling motion. That shirt was Harness's shirt that's being pulled, wasn't it? Paul Harper, possibly a little bit harsh. Refs in League One not worthy of local Sunday league. Let's not knock the local Sunday league up to Borussia Martlesham. We'll indulge Craig Fimbo, even though he's been on holiday. Romeo says that ball from Walton to JD was reminiscent of Forrest to Stevie Whitten combo back in the day. I'm far too young to know what he's talking about there.
I can't remember many of those.
Right, so Sod's Law, a few minutes later, it's 2-2. This one was from a corner, Joe. And was it maybe an example of zonal marking not working?
Yeah, well, I've never seen a zone score a goal, so we'll see from there. But after the game, Sam Morsey came up into the lounge and was talking to John Walk, and John was saying, like, it's a free header. What's gone wrong? And Morsey was like saying, well, we mark zonally. There will be, you can't mark every player if you mark zonally. Sometimes there'll be a free man and everyone's done their job, but it doesn't work. And I think McKenna went into sort of more detail in his press conference, but he said it was along the lines that Britain was just a blocker in there, but yet because the ball was swung out so deep, it sort of just landed on his head, and he still had a lot of work to do. It was a brilliant header from where he was.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you look at it, you just see free header, don't you? But
yeah. So do you think McKenna probably said to them that he'll just take responsibility for that one?
That's what it seemed like. He said we'll look at things and we'll look at our zones. We'll make sure that there's not more we can be doing and go from there. But even again, I still like to have a man on the post as well. I'm old-fashioned in that regard. Put men on the post, and they clear that, don't they?
Yeah. Dare I say it? Those looping headers do seem, well, on the evidence of yesterday anyway, do seem to maybe be a potential weakness of Walton's. But you eliminate that problem by having just a fullback, maybe just on the back post.
I didn't notice yesterday. Did we leave anyone up for that corner?
I didn't
Normally
notice.
Chaplin will normally be about 25 yards out.
Yeah,
and the players on the edge of the box.
Yeah, it's just especially after what happened a few minutes before, it's just pretty gut wrenching, isn't it?
But we came back well from it as well.
Yeah, really well.
That's a positive though, that we conceded the goal and our heads didn't drop. We just kept going and going.
Yeah, and the way we can still create chances, because Barnsley, to their credit, they came and they played pretty well. They gave us a good game. They can arguably say that they were good value for their point. But even when they sat back and played pretty defensively, just as Bolton did on the opening game of the season, we still created a flurry of late chances, which was pleasing to see. There was a bloke on my row who was shouting, "Get the ball in the effing box." I'm not sure how much McKenna football that he's watched, but we continued to pass the ball and try and sort of make the spaces and try and make things happen. And then we obviously won a few set pieces towards the end of what as well. Edmondson doesn't get enough goals, does he, Dave? But he got up and won a header, came off the post a little bit unlucky.
Yeah, should he be scoring there? I mean, it's unlucky. Right, hits a post, it's unlucky, but yeah, okay, he jumps with a defender, I suppose, and maybe a little bit unsighted, sees it a bit late, but he should score, shouldn't he?
From my end, it looked a really free header, but then when you watch it back on the highlights, it didn't quite look.
No,
it
didn't.
A bit further out. From our end, it looked like he was 4 yards out, standing on the back post.
Yeah, you probably rose a little bit further out, but yeah, another day it goes in, one of those days.
Yeah. Vincent Young has a superb header saved by the goalkeeper. It was another fantastic, wicked ball in by Evans, wasn't it?
He did that. He also did that he did that a few times. I'm loving that. So, they're saying, oh, yeah, get the ball in the box. But we're creating really good angles for that. It's obviously something they work on. Donassi and Burns, they work on manufacturing, getting Evans out wide right in that position. And he did one for that Ladapo sort of scuffy. Was it Edmondson, Ladapo scuffy chance right at the start of the second half?
Yeah, that was a big chance. That
was a big old chance. He did that three or four times.
I think Ladapo saw that one quite late.
No, I think he did. No, you're right. I think he did, but still a decent chance. And again, even probably a better cross because he's putting it in with pace, isn't he? And Vincent Young did nothing wrong there. Great connection, and just keeper.
I was up. I thought it was in, but then
he got his feet
out nowhere.
Unlike the free kick, he set himself. The keeper had set himself well. Got his feet right. Yeah, it's a decent save, wasn't it?
He gets great power on his headers, Vincent Young, doesn't he?
Mate,
it reminded me of Georgi Christoph and Richard Wright in the playoff final.
Yeah, that's a good shout.
A sort of flashing header across, and you think it's in, and the keeper sort of comes out of nowhere for it.
Yeah. I think Christoph,
and then you watch it back,
closer.
But you watch it back in the highlights, and then all of a sudden the ball's gone quite centrally into the goal, and the keeper's got across, but not miles across. But both times, both of those looked in at the time from where I was in the stadium.
Yeah, it was the sheer power of the header rather than direction. But yeah, and then Aluko's come on at this stage and was his usual self, just always looks like he's got time on his hands. The last corner of the game, I think it was an Evans outswinger again, and Aluko managed to sort of volley it into the ground. It was a decent effort, and I think it was a defender on the line that scrambled it off the line in the end.
Yeah, I didn't realise till I watched it back from where I was. I thought that was perhaps hit a defender about 3 or 4 yards out, but it was literally the last kick of the game, wasn't it? And he makes a really pretty good connection with it.
Yeah,
and just hits a defender's shin, knee on the line, and we just can't force it in. I mean, not our day ultimately.
So yeah, what was the overall feeling then in the Bobby Robson suite after the game, Joe?
I think the way we finished the game was testament to sort of the fact we deserved to win. I think, but for the referee, we've won that game yesterday because there's no way we get clawed back when we go 3-1, and then we have chances to win it after that and finish the game strongly. And sort of McKenna's sort of game plan has worked, really, has it? In that we've sort of kept them level to sort of that 65-minute mark, send on the sort of the changes, and from that point on just dominated the game and did more than enough to win yesterday. But just sometimes it's just not to be. It's just not your day, and that was one of those yesterday. But keep the unbeaten run continues on. We're still in the top 2, 14 points after 6 games. We're still, I think one of the biggest concerns people had was about scoring goals, and we're still running along at sort of over 2 goals a game scored.
Indeed. And what were your thoughts walking back to the pub?
Initial thoughts, it almost feels like a defeat, but Joe's right. You look at the bigger picture, 14 points, undefeated, 4 wins, 2 draws. Yeah, you take it and move on, don't you? But you say just one of those days. Any other day you win the game 4-2, or the magic Barnsley score. But yeah, just unfortunate run into bad luck, and also a fairly shocking referee as well.
Yeah, there's a few questions already in the comments about the referee. I'm going to start dipping into these questions now. Thank you everyone that's watching. If you could drop us a like if you're watching on YouTube. That's a big help for us. It helps with all the algorithms and other things that I don't really understand. But the first question I'm going to go to is Sarah Hare. Are we able to draw conclusions now on Ladapo's ability to play a successful role in a promotion charge? He didn't have his best game yesterday, Joe, did he?
No, it's frustrating because I think he still did a lot well in that sort of the way we played. Sort of did work around him, but he just wasn't quite. He seemed quite disconnected to the team, and whether that's because of the sort of the players behind him, because maybe him and Harness had linked up a lot more, and Harness wasn't there in this game. But just the longer he doesn't score for, I think the bigger an issue it becomes. Because when a striker's playing well, you can sort of say you're playing well, you're doing this, but when you get to sort of 6-7 games into the season, still haven't scored, that's just weighing on your mind. And maybe the fact he didn't start last week, John Jules came in, scored, he's back in the team. Is he now playing with that pressure on his shoulders? And because again, every game he's getting a good chance in every game. It's not like he's not getting chances. And I say, how different would it look if he'd scored 2 goals this season in his 5-6 games? And I think he'd be looking at a different player. But yeah, one of those has got to go in soon, and then we'll see.
Yeah, he seemed to struggle a little bit in the air as well, doesn't he, Dave? Like if you saw Jackson come on and he won a header straight away.
No, exactly the point I was going to make. He does actually for his size, because he's a size, but yeah, he's not the greatest jump, or perhaps he doesn't time his jumps that well. Yeah, it was noticeable that the one that Jackson wins to set up the chance for Harness is, I can't really remember us winning any more than that all game pretty much. So look, I'd play. I mean, we want to do a little bit about this afterwards, but I'd play Ladapo Tuesday and I hope he gets a goal or 2.
Yeah, there could be something in that. Michael Warner, with all the talk of keeping the ball in play more, I noted a lack of ball boys, girls around the pitch. Maybe that would help with our flow of play. I think, it's funny, weird, isn't it? There's
on one side
no
of the pitch,
multi-ball, but
I don't think you're allowed multi-ball anymore. But on the side of the pitch, on the Portman Road side, I don't know what it's called at the moment, the Portman stand, Cobbold stand, that side, there's like 6. There's 6.
We called that a while.
Yeah, but it's still the Portman stand to me, isn't it?
Anything not corporate, Joe's.
Yeah, but there's 6 people up that stand, and then on the West stand, sponsored by the Magnus Group, it's there's only like 2 ball people on that. So there's like 1 between the dugouts and the corner flag on each side, but so they're just, I don't know, there's just not enough there, and I just think you need more ball boys there, or ball people there, and you need them to be alert. You need them to be like coiled springs, ready to jump up and keep the ball in play.
That's kind of the problem for me, is that they do seem a little. I don't think they're coached. I think they're just told to just go and enjoy it and watch.
Well, they're different every week, aren't they?
Yeah, and
different every week.
You need them ready to give the ball back, so that, like the one at the end where the keeper's in the north stand sort of farting about with behind the goal, and the ball boys just giving them the ball and like, go on. And it makes the ref realise how much they're trying to waste time and things like that. If you get the ball back to them straight away, then you're giving them no excuse. You're not letting them trot after the ball and try and get it. You need people doing that, and there's something I really think is an area we're missing about. I actually emailed the club about this a little while ago, and
strongly worded.
And I just sort of said about it, and they sort of said they've sort of got no real plans to change what they're doing. But I think they missed a trick on it. I think you need a regular team of ball people there who know what to do, who are ready and who are active and want to get up and move the game on.
In the old days, you just had 2 behind each goal. That was it. Ever since until I don't know when. So maybe it wasn't such an issue.
Is that when they were playing with pig's bladders, Dave?
Yeah, lacing the ball.
Just going back to Ladapo, Paul Harper says, how long do we give Ladapo to score? Does he need to score in his next game, whether it's Northampton or Accrington, to keep the shirt?
Yeah, you probably I think, because although Joe said he did do some good stuff yesterday, consistently yesterday, I thought was probably his worst game I've seen him have so far. So yeah, I think that would certainly give him a boost, wouldn't it?
But the transfer window shuts this week, doesn't it? And
I'll
be amazed if we don't have another forward signed. It might not be another number 9, but there's going to be another forward signed without a doubt.
You heard it first.
You can smell a signing, can you, Joe?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well,
Joe's got that look. Joe's got that look about him.
We'll get 2 more in, won't we? Like there's no secret that we've been trying to get a striker in all through the window, and if we've now, if we can't get our first target, which seems to be George Hurst, we're going to be looking elsewhere. And who that is, like I said, we don't know yet, but we can probably have some good educated guesses at it. But we need another striker in there. We've only really got one, Ladapa, who you could probably say can lead the line in sort of every game of the season, haven't you?
It's a kind of an odd one because there's been so much speculation over the weeks and over the summer that you can imagine if we don't sign anyone this week, it'll be general unrest.
Well, if we don't sign anyone, we've failed, haven't we? Because we've been trying to.
Yeah, because we've sort of shown.
I think you're right, Joe.
We want to.
Yeah.
HCH, aren't refs supposed to be clamping down on time wasting this season? Don't know if that's filtered down to League One, is it?
To be fair, the thing I thought he did get right yesterday, which perhaps Joe said alluded to, he didn't get right in the first half, was at least second half. We did have, was it 8 minutes? Which again was probably a minute or two short, but I was expecting the usual derisory 5 or 6, and then the crowd
thought it was 6,
seriously kick.
But that was 8.
No,
it was 8. Okay.
Yeah, it was. So
the sound isn't very good in the Portman stand, Joe.
He kind of got that. He sort of got that right. One of the things he did get right, at least in the second half.
Yeah, there's plenty of comments on the ref. Yeah, I commented on that as well, Dave. Although I did think it was 6 minutes added on, so I was surprised that it did go on as long as it did.
Can we? I mean, also mention. I don't know if someone else mentioned this about the Norwood's comedy moment.
Oh yes, yeah.
Priceless.
Yeah, talk us through that one, Dave, because Norwood's come on and he's desperate to make his mark on the game, isn't he? And went
you
for
can
the
understand it if it was outside our box, but it was just on the edge of his own box. And
he just couldn't resist, could he?
Yeah, it gets. How can we put it? He gets done for simulation. I think is the correct correct.
So he's tried to buy a foul on the edge of, well, quite close to the edge of his own box by sort of him and Vincent Young sort of. Go for the ball. I think Vincent Young reads it quite well. And Norwood's just sort of bumped into Vincent Young and then just gone straight down. I tell you what, I was shocked when the ref did give us a free kick, though, because it was the right decision, wasn't it?
It's an indirect free kick when it's a dive. I didn't notice it signalled as one. And does that mean if you dive in your own penalty area, it's a penalty against you? I don't know.
That was the comedy moment. Yeah, brilliant. And do you know what? That's quite. Why not? I think he got half decent reception as well, didn't he?
Yeah, I think I saw somebody comment in our Telegram group, which you should all check out on Blue Monday on Twitter. Just it's all up there. How you join it. It's a really good community to be a part of.
Yeah,
as everyone keeps saying, it's like Twitter before all of the dickheads took over. But yeah, somebody made the comment on that, didn't they? On whether they were asking why he got such a good reception. Actually, ironically, this might be one that I read on Twitter. But the reason I think why he got such a good reception is because there was always going to be a few people that booed him. So you have to give him a good reception so the boos get drowned out. Because if he hears the boos, he's gonna be even more fired up, isn't he?
The reverse psychology. Yeah, there might be. Might be something.
I think he's one of those, isn't he? That if he'd come out and got booed, he'd score a goal and want to lap it out, wouldn't he? And
yeah.
Whereas getting the big applause meant that he was going to come on and dive in front of his own penalty area. It would have been brilliant if we scored from that.
I just gave it my normal sort of muted.
Meh.
That does me when a different player returns to the club.
Isn't that what the Churchmans do when there's a goal, Joe?
No, it was going mad in there. There was someone kicked out within the first 5 minutes.
Oh, that was hilarious.
For giving it large to the away fans.
I saw on YouTube today. There was a blog from a Barnsley fan who did a similar to Alex Griffin, I guess, that sort of thing. And he's a great view of that. Yeah, he absolutely lost the plot. That lad, or
he
not
sort of
lad,
tried to run off, didn't he?
Yeah,
and
bloke.
Tried to run off, and then he was like pointing to beckoning people outside. Then he tried to sort of jump over the wall
where on his own.
Tried to jump over the wall where the scoreboard is, the big screen. I don't know where he was going to go once he'd landed 12 meters down on the ground. I don't know where he'd have gone after that. Maybe not quite that high, but it was quite a drop below that wall, and then he was going to fight 650 Barnsley fans after that.
Gary Haseman asks, I would normally agree with Mikey Luck evens itself out, but 2 clangers in 2 games. Are refs against us because we're the big team in League One? I think it's probably more a case that we're spending more time in the in the opposition's third that we're going to have these decisions go against us, but we're going to hopefully get some as well. We're going to win more penalties this year, aren't we? Aren't we? Surely.
Well, we didn't really any last year, did we? A
No,
couple,
I think we had one. Yeah, maybe two.
Yeah, two. Yeah, but yeah, no, we're just up the other end. I don't think the refs are against us, but they've got to stop getting these big decisions wrong, don't you? This is like, I'm not a fan of VAR, but this is the reason why it ends up coming into the game, because the refs make clangers and they're continuing to make clangers.
I mean, I think actually seeing the one last week, that could have been even worse. That was worse than I mean, that was so clear cut last week. It was. I mean, you actually got footage of the guy 2-footed off the ground in the back of Vincent Young.
Yeah,
Christ's sake, that was probably worse on than the one yesterday even. So, yeah, 2 in 2 games is pretty poor.
And I think they're just decisions as well, where the ref. It's obvious what the decision is from the reaction of everyone around it, isn't it? And I think that's the issue. And I'm not saying you should just ref the game on the reaction of the players, but you can tell when both teams know what the right decision is, don't you?
Just need to get in the Premier League, don't we?
Yeah, get in the Premier League, and then you don't have any bad refereeing decisions against you, as Crystal Palace fans found out this weekend. Romeo 4, why do refs constantly stop the game when players go down? I don't know, Romeo. It does my head in. I thought it was only for head injuries. Clearly a tactic to disrupt our flow.
Yep.
How many times were the physios on yesterday?
There's going to have to be some retrospective booking stitched out to players that go down holding their heads, and then it's obvious that it isn't their heads that they've hurt.
They had 2 female physios that seemed to come on.
Must have been on 7 times.
Yeah, easily. Yeah.
Admittedly, the 3 in the first half, 2 of those players did go off injured, so they obviously were injured. But there was one point, there was a guy rolling around on the floor in the box. The game moved on to the halfway line, and he got up and sprinted to the halfway line and just started playing again. It's like stuff like that. Maybe that's where it should be a retrospective punishment, because it's like you obviously weren't injured because you're rolling around on the floor, and after 20 seconds doing that, you get up and sprint 50 yards and just carry on playing as normal. I don't know. It's just
we did used to celebrate Norwood doing that, though, didn't we?
Oh, lovely.
That was more after a goal, though, wasn't it?
He started. He was trying to do it yesterday, but because we moved straight into their half, he didn't get to do his usual sprint at the defenders. If Mighton comes in, is that Edwards off on loan? So that's the link.
The Forest wide player.
Forest loan. What's his Alex Mighton?
You would think so, but I think I read earlier there's a few in for him, isn't it, Joe? Did I see?
Yeah, it's a Sheffield Wednesday now, the favourites for him, they said. So
right, yeah.
We'll see how that goes.
If that did happen, you would think that would mean Edwards going out, because seemingly a similar player.
Flim Flam, aside from yesterday, Vladapo and John Jules played together that much this season?
I don't think they have, no. Because generally John Jules is coming on as a sub and Ladapo's coming off, isn't he?
Yeah. Dan Connors, apologies for talking about the Norwood thing without putting your comment up, because I realised that's what steered the conversation in that direction. Joe was obviously ahead of me on the comments. Do we stick with a single striker and 2 10s, or use the single 10 and 2 strikers that we did sometimes last season? Dave, you want 4-4-2, don't you?
Yeah, always. No, I like to see 2 up. No matter, I'm not saying 4-4-2, and I will admit that I'm not saying 4-4-2, but I do prefer to see 2 up at times. Yeah, so that's how I would go.
Could you see that?
Yeah, I could see that. We did it quite often last season, didn't we? Yeah. Where we changed it and went that way. But it's just got to be more. The problem is you need your sort of wider striker to be a bit more fluid in his role and being able to play as a forward and as a wide player all game. And I don't think we've got the strikers for that other than potentially Jackson. And I don't think you'd want to start Jackson and Ladapo and leave at least all bar one of Harness, Chaplin, Aluko and John Jules on the bench. Only one of those would be able to start, wouldn't it? And I don't know. I just think that we'll see what McKenna thinks by what happens in the transfer window this week.
Yeah. Do you think
and this question
leads
into that?
I know that ship has long since sailed, but do you think a game like yesterday, Selena, would have affected it?
I think so, because I think we struggled at times to move the ball from sort of midfield into the forward roles, having somebody who can sort of because both the 10s who were playing were sort of playing as almost strikers, weren't they? Chaplin and John Jules, and that they naturally start high and drop back. Where I think we needed somebody to carry the ball to connect sort of Morsey and Evans to the strikers. Somebody of that ilk who can sort of more of an 8/10 rather than a sort of striker/10.
Joe, now Simpson's gone to Huddersfield. Good move for him. Who do we put the 500k towards?
Well, I guess it's just going to be if we don't sign Hurst, I'd imagine we'll be going into the loan market. So it's just probably going to cover a loan, isn't it? Macaulay Bond, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
That's one that really divides the fan base, isn't it, Dave?
Really?
Yeah, I mean, look, Macaulay Bond from last September to November, was it? Mid-November? You'd have him all day long, wouldn't you? The Macaulay Bond after that. And look, we know there were other reasons, perhaps, stuff going on. Wasn't, at one point last year, coming into light, like I said, mid-November, the thought of not signing Macaulay Bond come the end of the season is horror, isn't it? Because he's going to at least score 20 goals from here. But for one reason or another, just didn't work out. Look, we know he can. We know he's got it in him. We've seen him do it. So, yeah, but as you say, that does divide. But I don't think he certainly didn't start. I'm not sure he was in the squad yesterday.
He was on the bench yesterday.
On the bench, was he? Yeah, okay. Would it be, personally, if we didn't get anyone else other than him on a loan or whatever, great. I'll take him.
Knows the players, knows the system,
experience,
and loves the club, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So he wouldn't be a bad move. Very Finished Problem says, discovered ref's got a history of shocking game-changing decisions. Wonder how many more he can do before getting red carded himself.
It's just stuff like this where there's sort of a lack of transparency. You'd love to hear from the sort of Lambert always used to say, "Oh, I phoned Mike Riley the other day or whoever, and he told me he got the decision wrong." But you obviously only get one side of the story on that side. But you'd love for them to come out, and they did it actually in the Premier League the other week, didn't they? Where they sort of said, "We got this decision wrong." I can't remember. I think it was a Liverpool game, or they basically came out and admit they got the decision wrong, which I thought was strange. But you'd love to sort of hear that in the lower leagues. But then does all that do is just give you a target on the ref's back? I don't know. It's not an easy job, is it?
No,
definitely not. Paul Westlake, do we think McKenna is closest to getting to his ideal 11? I know he's sort of said in the past that he's not even really striving towards having the ideal 11, but Paul says surely Harness starts in our best team now, as does Davis, etc. I think we
agree with that.
We're definitely getting closer, but there's probably two positions up for grabs, isn't there?
Yeah, I think I'd agree with Harness and also Davis, although I do like Lee. Lee wasn't injured, I don't think, yesterday, was he? Just couldn't fit him in the squad because I think that's what McKenna came out and said, that obviously wanted Vincent Young in there because he can play obviously a variety of positions. But yeah, I thought Davis is looking the deal. I think looking really, really good, really good. And yeah, Harness. Yeah, I'd always have him in. I think from now on, I'd always have him in the side. But as Joe said yesterday, it's probably just his turn to drop out.
Yeah. Veronica Dodd said it was Bristol City as well, where there was an apology for a bad decision.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nigel
probably
Pearson
scared of Pearson,
a lot about
weren't they?
that,
yeah.
Chris Robinson, Chaplin has really come into his own this season. Has he benefited the most from Selena's departure? I think he probably has, simply because there's less traffic in front of him for that position.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and he's just starting more games, isn't he?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Year,
he's just getting more game time.
Yeah, and also I don't think you can sort of underestimate having a sort of settled pre-season, being here the whole way through, sort of being fit at playing in a team which is actually functioning, where a lot of last season it wasn't at all, was it? For the first half of the season, wasn't a functioning team in there, so...
Yeah, it's just a technically brilliant player, and if he can rattle in a couple more free kicks, Dave, that's going to be a huge bonus, isn't it?
He is his joy. At times, he's an absolute joy to watch, isn't he? His first touch and his general awareness, and very, very intelligent footballer as well. Finds space.
You've got to be when you're that small, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Fingers crossed he stays fit, because you'd think there's a 10. Well, he's got 3 already. It's sort of 10-goal season there at least for him.
Yeah, I don't think as well you could have 2 of him in the team.
There it is.
The landline. I don't think you could have 2 of Chaplin in the team, because he is the one that tries stuff and that gives the ball away and gives it away too often sometimes, doesn't he? And when things aren't going right, it sort of stops us playing. But no, as the one sort of X factor player in there, he's certainly doing well this season and hopefully continues to.
Yeah,
indeed. I'm just going to run through the other League One results as Mrs. Diamond speaks to her mother. she always does on a Sunday evening.
Probably on a
Quite
Sunday
late
evening,
tonight.
no doubt. Yeah.
So Accrington 0, Exeter 0. Can't imagine there were too many follow passes for that one. Bristol Rovers 1, Shrewsbury 1. Cambridge, absolute classic there at the Abbey. 4-3 against Burton. Poor old Burton, they can't buy a win, can they? Oxford, maybe signs that they're up and running now. They won 2-1 at Cheltenham. Big game at Pride Park. Derby 2, Peterborough 1. Lincoln 2, Fleetwood 2. Milton Keynes Dons, possibly they're up and running now as well. 4-0 win away at Morecambe. Plymouth, they're looking strong. 2-0 home win against Bolton. We go there in, what was it, three or 4 weeks live on Sky. Portsmouth are now the leaders after winning 1-0 away at Port Vale. Sheffield Wednesday, that wasn't a shock result. 5-0 at home to Forest Green. And Wycombe 1, Charlton 1. So the top 10's looking like this now. We've dropped down. We've got the same goal difference as Portsmouth, so we're just below them on goals scored, aren't we? And then it's Sheffield Wednesday, a point behind us. Peterborough, 2 points behind us. And there's Plymouth, Derby, Cambridge. Cambridge and Exeter probably the overachievers of the opening few weeks, aren't they? But there's some good sides in League One this season, isn't there?
Yeah, that I think that table will look quite familiar throughout the season. That top 6 that are up there currently, I don't see many of them falling away.
HGH as the top 6 now, the biggest teams in the league. I think our ability to beat the big boys is going to be everything this season. I think you're spot on.
Mm-hmm.
And Gary Haseman says, did you see Chaplin's comments about Barnsley just being a buying and selling club? I think you alluded to them at the start, Joe, didn't you? That
yeah, when it
no
celebrated his goals, and he sort of said, great club, great fans, but the ownership model there is just about buying, selling. Almost maybe because they've sort of got a US sport influence in there where players are just traded to other teams on the other side of the country, and there's no sort of contract player power or anything like that at all. You could be playing for Dallas one week and then you've got to move to Wisconsin the week after and be there for 3 months and then get sent to Florida and you've got to work from there. And it's just, I don't know, it seemed obviously for him to sort of go into as much detail and say as much as he did about it is obviously something that really did hurt him. And I guess sort of coming off the back of finishing in the playoffs and then just getting sold to a League One club and sort of being told to go that way is probably not what he was expecting after being a regular in a sort of championship playoff season.
Indeed. Just a final question. We've spoken quite a bit about Chaplin tonight, haven't we? Could we try him as the number 9, Dave? Would you like to see Chaplin playing even higher up?
No, not really. I don't think it'd be
Even
so
where he is.
effective. Yeah, I think you'd lose a little bit from him. So no, personally
Yeah,
not.
it could be a false 9 in there.
False 9.
False 9.
Yeah.
Bobby Firmino style.
Pretend.
Yeah, thanks everyone for driving the conversation with those excellent questions and comments. There's plenty of debate going on, all friendly debate. Just the last one here from Chris Rand. Barnsley are only the 3rd team to score 2 against us since Kieran McKenna arrived. Wow.
Does that mean we still just about have more clean sheets and goals conceded?
Close, isn't it?
I'm guessing that's a direct question to Chris. I'm sure that he's going to have an answer for us. But before he does, going to run for a few plugs. You can vote for us as the best football podcast if you believe that to be true, which of course you do. In the FCAs, you can either do that on Twitter or by visiting the Football Content Awards website and cast your vote, and maybe even cast a vote for Benjamin Bloom as the best creator and Joe Fairs as the best influencer. We'll be back with a live Q&A show on Wednesday night. So this is after the Northampton game, but not directly after. So it'll be 24 hours after. We'll mostly talk about that game and then start to look ahead to the Accrington game, which Rich and Seb will preview in more in depth on Friday. Before we go, any plugs or any last words from either of you two?
No.
No, just a shout for the Down Under Derby win yesterday, which was by, funny enough, 4-2, wasn't it? That score again.
Fantastic.
Yeah, no, and Russell Osman, his son played in it, which we're having a laugh about that. So yeah, no, good to get a win against them up the road in no matter what capacity it is.
It was in Melbourne, that one, wasn't it? So I think we might have beaten that lot up the Rud in 3 different Australian cities at this stage. So
Struggle to beat
bodes well for
in English towns and cities, unfortunately, over the last
Yeah,
decade.
not
So
many.
not so
nice to
good.
beat them somewhere.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks everyone for watching, for getting the comments in. Please drop us a like on YouTube. Subscribe if you're not already. Dave, I'll give you the last word.
Cheers, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and hopefully a cup win on Tuesday.
Yeah, and here's to 1 million more downloads.